Hi there. My name is Alex Ryak. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Tagteka, and I would like to take this time and opportunity with you to share with you how this software can help you save time, money, and water. Tagteka was developed by a group of various contractors and trades. The idea was first conceptualized by Mr. Bob Mislanka, who is a successful master plumber operating New Line Plumbing with an extensive portfolio of over 150 plus buildings. The idea first dawned upon one, wouldn't it be so much easier if you could literally scan that valve up in the ceiling and obtain all the information pertaining to it, the size, the make, the model, the last time it's been serviced. That was when the idea was first conceptualized. And over the past few years, we have worked together with multiple trades, engineers who specialize in building hydronics and mechanical engineering to help design this software. More importantly, we have worked closely with multiple property managers, providing a beautiful and extensive feedback customer loop, knowing exactly what they need to help make their lives easier. So this system here will work for anybody, whether you're a franchise owner, a real estate management company, or if you're a manufacturer of any type of mechanics or piping systems inside of a building, and you want to protect your product, ensuring that the building has been following your specifications to ensure it does not break the integrity of your product. So I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough now. On the left-hand side is literally a one-to-one mirror screen of my mobile phone where the app has been installed. And the screen to your right is how it looks like from your desktop computer, which can be accessed through any browser. So with each account, they will have your customer or yourselves, the client will have their own login. You have one master login which manages all the data. Then you can assign individual accounts to anybody whom you wish to share this data with or give them access to. So at the very beginning of your login, which is called the dashboard, you have a breakdown of the most critical items and information pertaining to your building, which are the plumbing, the fire, the HVAC. We also focus on electrical and common elements. Again, you can customize anything you'd like in the software, whether you're tracking equipment or other specific machinery, you can add that. Anything in which you can assign this tag to, you can then track and manage. And by the way, this tag right here is what we have customized and developed. It is a special plastic which has been designed to work in high temperature and extreme areas. And inside of here is a RFID chip, which will then connect with a RFID scanner gun. This gun, once connected through Bluetooth, once you've connected the RFID scanner gun with the mobile app of Tagteka, and you assign any tag to any mechanical component, you can input the data through the mobile app and assign all key details pertaining to it. You can attach photos, and more easily enough, you can add any and all type of PDF documents pertaining to the mechanical asset. Lastly, it is very beneficial because you can simply request service by a simple click of a button from your mobile phone, saving you lots of time. Multiple service requests and get all the information pertaining to it. So from the dashboard, you could see you have a breakdown of every asset. And what's important here is that this gives you a map and a guideline of everything that needs to be serviced. It'll be really difficult for somebody who has this information to miss any type of preventative maintenance schedules. Anything that is in the red, it means that it is overdue, okay? And then each specific asset and item has a countdown timer. How is this determined? Is we work with specific manufacturers or your service contractors to determine which asset should have a specific reoccurring maintenance schedule to ensure the life gets extended by it. For example, this valve right here, typically every valve that has been created has a recommended servicing schedule to exercise the valve, which is literally performing the action of opening and closing this valve either every 6 months or every year. The simple action of exercising a valve helps extend the life by years. It also ensures if there is ever an emergency in your facility, it will be able to work. The last thing you want is knowing where this thing is, but it doesn't work. So what would happen in that instance is that instead of shutting down a particular line of a water system, you have to shut down your whole facility, drain all the water, which cost thousands of dollars if you added up all the occurrences throughout the year. Okay, so just a brief breakdown. We focus on asset management that help improve the operations efficiency and effectiveness. We also deal with building sensors. You'll see on my screen here below, we have what we measure is temperature, we measure pressure, we measure flood. If there's any type of flood in your facility, you get notified in less than 30 seconds. And the beauty of it too is you can notify multiple parties at once. So for example, if the superintendent is in underground parking garage, he has no signal. If you've selected multiple people to obtain it, you help increase the probability that somebody will be notified and you get to act immediately. Looking at our dashboard here, we've set up a simple calendar in which you can set up automatic preventative schedules to ensure you get a reminder notification 30 days or 5 days beforehand to ensure multiple parties get notified so service is done on time, which helps reduce the probabilities of premature malfunctions in major high-ticket items, equipment, or anything else pertaining to the building. We focus on analytics, like I mentioned before, the pressure, the temperature, velocity, hydro sensors, flood sensors, carbon monoxide sensors, you name it. Any type of sensors that you need for your facility application, we can work with our suppliers to help connect that onto the software here. And you can view this both on your mobile app and the cloud-based browser as well. Our software has been designed to make everything so simple. If you're looking for a particular item, whether it's plumbing, HVAC, fire, a simple click of a button and a further step of filtering out the process. If you're looking for a ball valve, it'll categorize everything for you. And we track what is most important, the most needed information, especially if you're requesting a service of any sort. This in turn helps make everything so much more easier and streamlined. If, for example, there is a valve in a facility or any type of mechanical item that has an issue or a problem with, for example, let's assume that this valve, which in most cases is hidden in an inconspicuous place, or you require a 15, 20-foot ladder. The beauty of this technology is that it can scan these tags from a distance of 12 to 20 feet, if unobstructed, and if there is no major electromagnetic interference. If you, as a facility manager, or if you have assistants who are touring your building facilities and notice that the valve is leaking up in the ceiling, in the normal case, what you would have to do now is call your service contractor. He will charge you a minimum charge to come and obtain the information. He will then get the information that is required, go back to his office, send a request out to his suppliers, and then send you a quote to replace that particular item. As you can see from just this alone, it costs money, it wastes a lot of time. So what we've developed here is, if I have on the screen of where the mobile app is, if I've identified it with the RFID scanner, that this valve here request service. Okay, I'm just going to turn my phone off silent so you could hear it. So if this action here from this mobile app on the left-hand screen is in the hand of the property manager, and let's assume that I am the service contractor, I can request service to multiple parties, and I can put in more description of what is needed. I could mention, hey, there's a leak happening here. I also get to choose who I want to be notified of this to. When I press submit, an instant text message notification goes to the vendor, notifying them the location in which this asset is and all the details pertaining to it. So the ball valve, the size, the make, the model, and the location. Just with this simple action alone, the service contractor can then immediately get a quote from his supplier and get this information to you instantly. The communication is just way more efficient, and it literally not makes your life easier as the property or facility manager, but this makes the life of the service contractor much easier too. So everybody's happier. Again, moving back to the dashboard on the desktop browser, you could see that you could filter specific mechanical items pertaining to their location. And another ability too is you get to export this file and share it. Okay? So we've discussed here how placing these tags on any mechanical item or machinery or equipment in your facility, it gives you power because you know what you have in your building and in your facility. You know where it is, you know what it's called, you know when it's last been serviced. And when you have this ability where you know what you have, you get to track it and manage it. You get to ensure that you're taking action ahead of time to ensure it doesn't fail prematurely. You also get to communicate effectively with all your stakeholders to help maintain the building. And this just makes it easier for everybody. In addition to our asset management tools here, I will now move back into discussing the sensors. So the sensors, as you can see, can be very valuable. If you're a facility manager, whether it's a franchise, condominium, or commercial real estate provider, in some cases, if you don't monitor specific items such as a mixing valve in a building or a PRV, which alters and determines what the pressure will be coming to the faucets or the fixtures in a building. Not managing these major components in a building can cause serious mechanical breakdowns in a building. You increase the risk of a flood to occur and even scalding in some cases in high-rise condominiums. The conventional and current method of how these things work now is much of it is relied upon viewing a physical gauge in a mechanical or boiler room. In many cases, these temperature gauges or pressure gauges, they fail. So number one, you're getting false information. Two, it's not accurate to the person who's viewing it. And you run the risk of not being notified on time. The sensors that we install in buildings, we set up specific parameters. If it reaches a threshold, let's assume for this example here, above 63 Celsius, anybody who you choose to notify will get a message stating that, hey, your mixing valve in the building has exceeded a temperature of 63 Celsius. Please send somebody to inspect it. And also, you get to export and keep all this data historically. So you can view data pertaining to your building to see where you can increase the efficiency of the mechanical components in the building to save money, to save water. And if you just make these little changes throughout, let's say, multiple facilities that you own, given in the time that will pass in just 1 to 3 years, or even earlier than that, you could save a lot of money from not having to repair things that are severely damaged, and improving the efficiency of your building to ensure it is operating at an optimal level. Okay. Um, this software here too, we try to capture as much data pertaining to every single item and component. We believe if you can track and manage the very small items in a building, and you ensure that all these small components are managed and are serviced and attended to ahead of time, then everything else in the building will operate efficiently. In addition to uh, storing information pertaining to mechanical items, we also want to store and maintain information pertaining to each stakeholder in the building. Because we know as property managers, they could have a million things on their mind if they're managing multiple facilities, thousands of emails. We want to make everything very easily accessible to them to ensure that they're able to handle all their tasks and to increase their productivity. And we do that by helping our customers organize their file explorer. So if I want to share as a property manager a valve chart with one of my service contractors, I could easily do it by sharing a valve chart, which is in a PDF format. This applies to for operations manuals, warranty documents, work orders, you name it. So if, let's say, for example, I want to look at a particular asset in the building, a valve, so this one here. So here's just an example of how it is currently done in buildings across everywhere, I believe in North America. You have a metal tag with a three-digit number, which would then require the individual who's servicing this valve to step off the ladder or go view a chart with some coffee stains on it, or if sometimes these charts are in boiler rooms where they're put on these nice fancy cases on the wall, and then you have to go with your finger and identify this specific number to see what it pertains to. Number one, the issue with this is sometimes we've come across many valve charts which are highly inaccurate, where the valves don't exist, they're not even in the proper location. And what else does it tell you? It tells you that this valve is for this specific purpose, but it does not show you the size, the make, the model. So you're kind of left out in terms of the valuable information that you need. And what we've done here is that, like I mentioned before, we want to store as much data and records as possible to each mechanical component in the building. Why? Because in the future, our software and the people that we work with is once we've able to gather enough data pertaining to your building or your facilities, we've developed our own algorithm which will be able to recognize patterns. If specific valves connected to various piping show that there is a high occurrence of a flood to occur, you could then take this valuable information and apply it to all your facilities, ensuring you're way ahead of the game and you're not reacting to problems. You're doing preventative maintenance and taking preventative measures to ensure that you're not a victim of a major flood or downtime of operations. This applies for everything. It does not have to solely be for mechanical, plumbing or HVAC components. Let's say if you're a franchise, you operate multiple locations, and the equipment that you use to serve your customers, you're noticing a pattern that equipment is failing and it costs thousands of dollars to repair. Well, you could discover that if there are specific fittings or quality of water that's being used into the equipment, you could use this through our service maintenancing and our sensor data to help improve your operations of your franchise locations and any other type of facility that you own. Okay, so yes, I'm just going to perform a quick test right now so you see how some of our sensors work. And what I have here in front of me is a flood sensor. This flood sensor can be installed anywhere in your facility. As soon as there is a contact of water, you can choose who you want to notify of what has happened. So I have a cup of water here, and once this electrical contact has been made, let's say if I've been put down, so I've received a text message instantaneously telling me that there is a flood occurring in a specific location. So it says right down here, hopefully you could read it. I could send you a screenshot afterwards, but it says, attention, water detected at the penthouse O3 fan coil at this address. Boy, let me tell you, this is very useful if you put these type of sensors in penthouse units. Why? Because in high-rise buildings, you have boiler rooms and mechanical rooms situated on top of those floors. You have domestic hot water storage tanks, and somebody who's living in a penthouse can afford it. Usually, sometimes they go and take some vacations for an extended time. So let's use an example of a $5 million penthouse, which is, a pretty average cost. It can go from $2 to sometimes even $10 million. Let's assume they've imported the top quality hardwood floors from a specific location outside of Canada or the United States, and they have valuable paintings and maybe collectible items that range into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. What happens is when you have a flood occur, the time difference between just a few minutes, the amount of water that's discharged can cause so much damage, ranging from hundreds and thousands of dollars. So, for example, since Bob Maslanka, who is the owner of New Line Plumbing, and again, who helped create this system, has told me an example of when there was a major deficiency in an upper mechanical room, and the amount of pressure and water that has come from there, it leaked from the upper penthouse unit all the way down to maybe 8 floors down, caused millions of dollars in damage, and it would not have been the case if you didn't have to have the lower penthouse unit go and notify the super or the property manager, hey, I have a leak coming from my ceiling. Having a sensor like this installed in either all penthouse units or even all units in a condo or any facility, as you've seen from my example, I've received a text message within less than 20 seconds. The ability to go and send somebody to isolate and shut off this water from minutes in less than 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it is a huge drastic impact compared to when you have to wait for a service contractor to come in an hour or an hour and a half. The amount of water that discharges from these mechanical components in buildings is, you cannot even imagine it. And the damages and the insurance claims go up for the condo building. Sometimes even the condominium corporation can get blamed because if they don't have proof that they've serviced these items in a building, which right now you could have all this proof right in front of you to protect yourself from major and serious insurance claims. Having these flood sensors just helps you to protect you. And whether it's a flood, pressure, temperature, anything, having multiple sensors throughout your building, your franchise facilities, your real estate management portfolio, your equipment that you supply to the building, you name it. When you have sensors, you have data, you enforce the people who have your equipment or who are tenants inside of your building or operate your franchises. You ensure that they are meeting their standards of servicing and maintenance. And if they don't do it, well, you have proof of it if they're doing it or not. And you have all this valuable data, you get to protect yourself. And the system that we've developed here can help you save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars each year. Not only from protecting yourself from damage, but also from increasing the productivity, the efficiency, the effectiveness of everybody who is involved in your portfolio, your business, your buildings, you name it. So that's it. Again, our vision for this software is we've created it because we've seen such a major deficiency in how things are being operated on the front line. I have worked with Bob for the past 4 years, helping him with his plumbing company, and I have firsthand knowledge and experience working with hundreds of property managers with some of the things that they struggle with, how this can benefit them and help them save time, how major floods can be stopped from occurring in buildings because you have brand new piping being installed in a building which has a great reputation and great engineers who built this pipe, but you have an issue in which how plumbers or HVAC technicians go into buildings and they tweak the systems in a building, not according to the specifications of how this pipe was made to work. And the components of the actual pipe, or let's say the equipment in the building, they cannot withstand because they're not made for these, let's say, pressures or temperatures or velocities, which causes the mechanical breakdown of let's say, the piping or even the equipment. So using a system like this will help everybody. And to close this presentation off, I want to do it with our vision statement. We've created this software to help everybody across the world. We believe this software can help change the world in terms of saving time. You know, if I put myself in the shoes of a property manager, some of them have to take phone calls from morning until night, and some of them don't have the ability to organize and stay on top of their things because they have to report to hundreds of people in a building and a condominium board and deal with various stakeholders. So this software, we've created it to save people time, to save people lots of money because you can act ahead of time, and more importantly, to save water. Like I mentioned before, not being able to shut down valves in a building is no good because you're wasting thousands of dollars each year. Having to replace a riser valve in a building sometimes can cost you $1,000+. And we notice a trend in buildings where valves are never exercised. There does not seem to be enough education in the industry, and no systems have been implemented in the industry to help enforce something like this. We think it should be mandatory in every building to exercise the valves and provide a report, because this will help save properties, condominium corporations, everybody, to save lots of money, time, but more importantly, water. Because I mentioned before, When you can't shut down a specific line, you have no other option but to shut down the whole building. And if we're talking about, uh, a 30, 40-story building, and you can't isolate or find the riser valves, sometimes you're resorted to a whole building shutdown. If you can imagine all the water within the building, having to flush it, doing this multiple times per year, well, that's not only thousands of dollars being wasted, but that's a lot of water that's been wasted. And for something as simple as this, of being able to just track and manage and stay on top of uh, your building items and components, we think this will make a major change. And that is our mission for Tactica. We look forward to working with you, whether if you are a property manager, if you manage a hotel, if you have a manufacturing facility, education facility, government, restaurant franchise, healthcare, if you have an equipment company, this system will help you save a tremendous amount of time, money, all of it. I encourage you to visit our website, tactica.com, where you could learn more about what we do, how it could benefit you, our sensors, our alert systems, the guns that we supply you to help you to read these tags that we developed. And you could view all of our videos and our features. And I'm just going to list a few here for you. The reverse search function, which we've touched upon before, it's the ability to locate a particular tag in a building as it brings you closer with a visual and audible cue. Okay, so this will be very helpful if you have a bunch of these valves hidden behind ceiling tiles and you know which one you need to isolate. Well, you don't have to open up a bunch of ceiling tiles and make a mess. You can save a lot of time just by pointing this gun to a specific location, which will bring you closer to it to help shut down water. Extending the life of valves. Okay, some of these valves that I've talked about, or even plumbing, HVAC, mechanical components, they have expected service life of many years. But if you don't manage it and service it on time, well, they're going to start having problems. Okay, sometimes we've seen in many cases in less than a year. Okay. We mentioned before reducing the mechanical failure. Well, if let's say, for example, you're a franchise owner and your freezer stopped working and you don't get notified ahead of time because you don't have sensors installed, well, your whole operations can be affected. And multiply this by, let's say, if you have 1,000 chains across North America, if you have just, let's say, 50 locations in a month who are having issues, well, that's thousands of dollars too. Sharing all your data, all the data that I've talked about here, we've made it so accessible. So if you need to share it with anybody, you can. Saving time, requesting quotes for plumbers and HVACs or any type of service tech. More specifically, we've applied this for condominium corporations who are required to do backflow tests every year, servicing their PRV valves, mixing valves. All of this service, we've made it easier where all work orders and documentation can be uploaded onto the software and kept there, okay? We've made this in mind because we have the experience of managing 200, 150 plus condominiums as a plumbing company. So we've specifically made this for property managers, but can work for anybody who needs to track any type of mechanical component. Again, I encourage you, visit our website, please. You can read in full detail all that we have here. You can learn more about the artificial intelligence, predictive analysis that we're implementing. Pretty much anything. And just to close this off, I promise this is the last point. Again, what differentiates us from other software companies is this is being developed by multiple trades, and we have the first-hand experience of being on the battlefield, knowing how it looks like to enter into a unit and seeing a tremendous amount of water flushing, seeing mechanical items fail way before their expected lifespan. And our system will be able to work, we know, as going into many mechanical and boiler rooms, sometimes you don't have accessibility to a cell signal or internet. So our system has been designed to work offline. And then once your technicians are finished using our equipment and software, when they go back to an area where there is internet signal, it'll sync automatically and all the data is there. Thank you once again. My name is Alex Ryak, once again, talking to you from here, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, on behalf of Tagteka. And we look forward to helping you save time, money, and water. Thank you so much.